The challenge, Seth, that people have is spending money to save money. That's a very, very difficult task. People in general don't know what it takes to run a senior care building. It's amazing. The checks and balances needed. So let's start off first by welcoming everybody to the None of Your Business podcast. This podcast is all about taking deep dives into your business and understanding from the inside out the senior care environment. And we're doing something special here where we're having an expense expert roundtable where we invite both sides to the table, the vendors and the operators, where we can talk about things like cost reduction. We could talk about things of increasing quality or the concept of something doesn't work well. What can we do to fix it, to make it better without spending too much money? Taking labor into account and talking about the environment that we all here today live and breathe by on a daily basis. And that is the senior care, healthcare environment. We've been living and breathing it for probably over 2 decades. Some of us on this call, some of us on this roundtable today have been in the industry for more than 2 decades. And some of us are here for a little less. It's irrelevant. I know people that are in the industry for 4 decades and they couldn't tell you the difference between a can of peas and chemicals to clean the kitchen floor. So the concept really here is for us to deep dive into topics that we pre-select, topics that are requested upon us by our surveys that we take from our clients and for the people that we meet at trade shows, and by simply understanding the industry the way we do by having our ear to the ground, as they say. Does anybody know where that comes from, ear to the ground?
No idea.
All right, so that was our quick little introduction to our wonderful podcast, the Expense Expert Roundtable, the None of Your Business podcast. We have with us Dan Roberge. Dan, please give us a quick introduction to your name, your company, what you do, and how you are defeating the challenges in our environment today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on. My name is Dan Roberge. I'm the president and CEO of GenXcore. GenXcore are the makers of a software called Maintenance Care. That's the name to remember, Maintenance Care. We produce software that helps the maintenance teams manage their day-to-day. And so that includes things like daily issues that come up, trying to make that more efficient as far as the communication to the maintenance team, all the preventative maintenance, which we're going to talk about today, things for compliance purposes and repetitive work that you need to do to stay in compliance. And then obviously asset management, the ability to manage equipment and so on, and predict breakdowns, hopefully a little bit, and then replace the equipment when you have to. So that's what our software does. And I'm happy to contribute my thoughts on how software in general and just being organized and how technology can help, in the senior care marketplace today. I think that's something that everybody's aware that we need, but how do you apply it well?
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that background. And I have to tell you, your 60-second pitch is stellar. I like to tell people in sales and marketing and branding and developing your pitch that there's a 60-second pitch, there's a 30-second pitch, there's a 7-second elevator pitch, and then there's the 3-second pitch. So I appreciate that. Managing the processes of running any operation requires some sort of software or another. And we're going to get into that in a minute. Managing your life requires some sort of software. Look at your phone, look at your pockets, look at your hips. You're attached to something that's managing your daily lifestyle through technology. So utilizing technology in the environment of senior care space, I applaud the forward thinking of you and your company and your organization and anyone that wants to take technology and to use it to better. And on that note, let's go to Ken. Ken, why not give us an introduction about you, your technology, your product, how you're battling the challenges of senior care today?
Okay, thanks for having me. My name is Ken Brown, the president and CEO of Fresh Sense. So we have been in business since 2015. We offer turnkey service in the tri-state area. We're all over the country for our cold air diffusers that range in price from $30 up to $120. Covering from 400 square feet to 5,000 square feet. We have for HVAC as well, a large array of different scents and oils. And we service many industries, but our main target is, and our main customer base is nursing homes and assisted livings. And we have them, like I said, all over the country.
Fantastic. Another great 60-second pitch. Sorry, go ahead. Let's make it 65 seconds.
5 more seconds. We also have we also have home products as well besides business products. So we do a little bit, we do a lot of business. We also have some new up and coming kind of products for the home, for the private consumer as well.
Fantastic. Appreciate that. And, I love talking about product services, especially when it's solving a challenge in facilities. I want to jump right into that. And I want to ask Melvin. Melvin, wouldn't you agree that the biggest challenge in facilities today, besides staffing, is fill in the blank? Wouldn't you agree it's the care, right? It's the feel, the look. I like to say when I walk into a facility that when you walk into a building, it's got to look good, it's got to smell good, it's got to feel good. So it's all about that. And I want to jump right into that. And of course, the checks and balances with Dan and maintenance care and having a software to manage it all, we're going to get back to in a minute. But I want to jump right into what Ken was saying. Melvin, from your perspective, when someone puts a machine to create a nice scent in the building, like they have in hotels, they have in casinos. I know when I go to casinos, they have a smell that helps you stay up all night and play, right? So tell me, from your perspective, is that covering up a issue in a building, or is that complementing, Melvin? I'd like to hear your thoughts on what it is from your perspective and overseeing so many plant operations. Give us a little bit of your knowledge and background and take us right into the idea and the challenges of smell in a building.
So I would say having a fresh temp system is like the dessert. There's the main course and the entree that have to be dealt with before. So ensuring that soiled linen and trash is not kept on the unit, gets removed from the unit as soon as possible. If you have soiled utility rooms, to make sure that your exhaust system is functioning, and to ensure that your fresh air system, which typically should have 4 air changes per hour, is in place. If you have that in place and you add a fresh temp system, then you might as well pretend like you're in a casino.
Did you say 4 per hour? Could you go back to that for a second? I'm sorry. Explain that for a second.
Correct. The TFM, which is the cubic feet per minute, the system is designed, the fresh air system in a healthcare setting is designed to have 4 air changes per hour. So
who told you that? How do you know this? Where's this information coming from?
This is common. And hospitals, it's higher, and the surgical center, it's even higher. So the fresh air system in the building is designed to change the air in the building.
Is this something, by the way, prior to COVID or post-COVID? Is that
correct? No, this is prior to COVID.
Prior to COVID. So the concept of changing the air system circulation 4 times is something 4 times, right? Is something, and how do people do it in general?
Every building has a fresh air system. This is the rooftop fresh air systems. They may have cooling and heating on them, but they're not designed to cool or heat the building. They're just designed to, let's say, cool the temperature. So if you're bringing in, let's say, a day like today, it's 70 degrees out, and you want to keep your building cool. You don't want to warm up the building, so you have a certain level of cooling to keep the fresh air at a 70 degree. So if it's freezing out there, you're going to warm up that fresh air. So you're not cooling down the building. It's maintaining the same temperature as you already have in the building.
That's amazing. This feeds right into the idea of people in general don't know what it takes to run a senior care building. It's amazing. The checks and balances needed. Melvin, the information that you're giving to me may not be new, but definitely for our viewers and listeners, this is news to them. Oh, it really takes that much effort just to make sure the quality of air is proper in the building of a senior care facility. Tell me more. And on that note, Melvin, please do tell me more. How many of these checks and balances are necessary on an annual or quarterly or monthly basis, would you say?
So from a life safety perspective, there's different like regulations. I would say about 60 items that have to be logged on an annual basis. But then on facility systems, it really depends what the design of the facility is. Do you have one central fresh air system for the entire building, which is possible, or do you have separate rooftop fresh air systems for each unit? So you may have 10 of these units in a facility. I once visited a facility, and all of their fresh air systems were down. They didn't even have fresh air coming into the building.
How did they even know that was happening? Was there a way to
They
tell?
didn't. They didn't. I just did a tour of that facility, and I walked onto the roof, and I see all these units.
Are you saying without going to the roof, there's no way to tell how the fresh air circulation system is doing?
Absolutely not.
I have to tell you, I'm fascinated by that concept, and we couldn't have had this next guest join us at a better time. Seth is here with ArcIQ. Seth, we're going to jump right into it. The concept of checking and having balances, we're talking about from a software perspective, a technology perspective. From your perspective, I think that you have a product that really speaks to what we're talking about now in terms of instead of needing to check something, it's sort of checking for you. So Seth, why don't you just go ahead and give us a quick intro of you and your company, the 60-second intro, like I enjoy saying.
Sure. So thank you. I'm sorry for my delay. I was on the different login. Okay, great. So we're ArcIQ. We're a smart water leak detection system. And so what we do is we have three major components to our system. We have smart sensors, which are placed throughout the building, which can detect humidity, temperature, tampering, as well as, most importantly, water. So if there's a pipe that leaks, water picks it up. We have a smart valve, and our valve can be shut off remotely. The valve monitors the water flow, the temperature, the pressure in the valve, and if need be, you could have it programmed to shut off if there's a leak, or through the app or through the dashboard, you hit a button and shuts it off. And our dashboard takes all the data in, collects it all, and so you can monitor. So anywhere in the world, no matter what time of day it is, we have the ability to detect the leak and then respond immediately.
That's amazing. Why don't we go right into that then? Melvin here is talking about checking the fresh air circulation system and mentioned something earlier that you need to physically go to the location of the equipment to check how it's doing. Melvin, how do you check when the last time the filter was changed, or how do you go about doing it once you've reached the system?
Well, on the filters itself, they should be dated. But in addition to that, we have a tracking system of making sure that the filters are changed based on the needs of the facility. There's certain filters that can last a year. If you go with the more expensive, certain pocket filters, 10-inch pocket filters that can last a year. A certain filter that you have to change every 3 months. It also depends on the climate. You may be near, manufacturing or areas that create a lot of pollen. You may have to change your filters a lot more frequent than other buildings. So the schedule has to be based on what the facility needs are. There are monitors on the system itself that tells you once the static pressure of your return air goes too high, which will basically be an indication that your filters are clogged, that the airflow is restricted.
Melvin, you said a couple of minutes ago something that, I have this thing with anybody who's around me and states a fact that's what I call Googleable. I like to ask them, is that a fact? And I rate people, whether what they say is 70% true most of the time, 80% true, 90% true. I have to say the majority of the people that I hang out with are 51% true, at least at the very minimum. If you're 50 or under, you don't waste my time. But, Melvin, I have to say from what you're saying, it sounds like you're saying things that should at least be 90 to 95% true. And if it is, it's kind of scary because we're only starting to have this conversation. We're talking about understanding that the scent of a building is the dessert, and the filter of the system and the way you clean your hallway is the main course and the appetizer, as you described earlier. So many checks and balances. Melvin, you said 60, over 60 things annually that you have to certify and recheck on an annual basis?
That's only on the life safety side. And
Wow.
then, in addition to that, you may have other PMs on systems that building design may have that are not requirements or regulations or guidelines.
All right. By our next roundtable, I'll let you know what my percentage feeling is for you. But so far, we're going to go with the the idea that it's at least closer to 100 than not. 60 is an amazing amount of things that you have to check in a building on an annual basis. I assume, Melvin, that you didn't wait for a company like Maintenance Care or any one of their competitors to create a system. What have you been doing all these years, Melvin?
So I actually created a smart sheet, which is similar to an Excel format platform, and I entered a schedule for each of these items, and they send out reminders. They get highlighted once they're due or overdue. So I have a snapshot of every facility of where they're at.
Wow. So you have this on the dates. Like you mentioned earlier, the filter should be dated. So someone is not only dating the actual filter physically on the filter itself, they're actually going to a smart sheet that you have created with an expiration date and a reminder of when to change the filter?
Correct.
Okay, that's amazing. And my suggestion for anybody that's listening is you have to use some sort of system. I mean, Melvin, tell me about the days where people weren't using such systems, and what's the upside of using such a type of system?
So the main upside is that maintenance directors don't always hang around forever. Even though we have directors that have been with us for 20 years, we have someone that retired after 27 years. But then in some facilities, you may change directors every year, and between directors, there's going to be a gap, and keeping track of every building, what has been done, what hasn't been done. It used to be done on paper, so you had to find the paper, and if you were lucky enough to find the paper to be able to read the handwriting or figure out what's where, because they had 25 different binders, it just takes away that entire guessing game and confusion.
Yeah, I've seen it personally that the handwriting notes of maintenance directors are worse than doctors. So I agree with you, and I think that's really, really important. And I appreciate where you're coming from. I want to go back to keeping the building smelling good, because I visit hundreds of buildings a year, and I love visiting facilities. It's one of my passions in life is seeing older people and smiling with them, playing a game, remembering who they are, bringing their favorite chocolate. So as someone in sales and marketing my entire life, I take advantage of those opportunities. And going back to the facility looking good and smelling good and feeling good, I've gone into buildings, Melvin, before that had baking going on right near the entrance, or they had a popcorn machine. But once you go past that popcorn machine, you just want to run for the hills. What is, in your opinion, based on your experience and what you're doing now, what do you do to get that appetizer and that main course before serving the dessert of ascent through the ventilation system? You're dealing with people soiling themselves, unfortunately, on a constant basis. You're dealing with a process that is complicated, and would like to just jump into that for a minute. What is best practice? That's two words that I like to use a lot in the world of managing expenses and advising on expenses. Is what is best practice? What is best practice to a facility smelling good, Melvin?
Best practice goes basically back to what we discussed before, making sure that all this soiled linen and trash is not stored on the units.
How do you do that practically? When you say make sure, how do you practically do that?
The aides are trained that after there's a change, those go straight into a trash room, and they don't stay in the room, or they don't stay in the hallway. They go straight into a trash room, and that trash room has negative air pressure that exhausts the air out of the building. So you definitely have to start with having a neutral odor in the building. And once you have a neutral odor in the building, then I've actually used Fresh Scent before. I'm aware of the services they provide. Definitely very pleasing. You walk into the facility and it's welcoming. Sometimes the visitors may even say, what is that I'm smelling? There's definitely something to it, but you also don't want to have that popcorn baking and soiled smell all over you. Then you're all confused, walking around drunk. Like, am I smelling right? Is it my nose? Is it the building? What's going on here? So you definitely have to start with a clean facility, neutral, and then if you want to step it up and gives that welcoming.
Sure. I want to tell you, I'm a New Yorker, and people always tell me different opinions on New York. You hear a lot of different opinions. One of the opinions sometimes that I get is that it's, I'm in the middle of Manhattan and it smells terrible. And I always tell the person telling me that, I say, in New York City, it's all about perspective. You could smell to the left and you could smell the hot, fresh nuts being baked by the vendor down the corner, or the roses being sold at the front of the hotel on Fifth Avenue. Or you could look to the right and you could smell the horse manure, out in the Central Park, or, the smell of urine on a wall potentially. But in a facility, especially in senior care, a place where I want my family to be secure and feel at home even more than in a hotel or a casino, as we were saying earlier, I feel like there's no such thing as perspective. You don't get the comfort and the ability to have perspective. It has to work. All the systems have to be in place in order for it to work well. You mentioned a garbage room that has a vent system that has to be upkept. Can you talk more about that room? Because I know I've seen it, but I don't know if all of our listeners know about it. And again, talking about all the complications of running a senior care building.
So every unit is required by code to have a soiled utility room. Same way you have a clean utility room, you have a supply closet, you have a med room, there's a soiled utility room. The soiled utility room has to be negative here with an exhaust. And that is the purpose, that anything that's soiled is stored in that closet until someone from housekeeping comes to remove it from the unit.
Okay, got it. Yep, that's an important room to make sure it's always working and functioning properly, I guess, right? And talking about Seth, who just joined, Seth, you're talking about water leak and prevention and putting a monitor in place so that it's happening, not needing to climb under something or over something to figure out what's doing. In a regular world, in a regular building, what kind of excess, do you see being used in terms of water? And talk to us about water bills and how high are they? And because I've been reading a lot about water bills making a difference. I remember growing up, water bills were $20 a week. It was a joke, for a house. But, today water bills is something to look out for. And besides that, the pipes are getting older. And talk to us about that piping process and what you have going on behind you, if you don't mind. Share with us a couple of pieces of insight, Seth. And talk about it so that we can go right back to Melvin and talk about what he's doing internally to look at the water consumption and the water bills.
So, in a little bit, I can show you a demonstration of how it works. But basically, what we do is our sensors are placed in, it's a one-time installation. The batteries are well over 5 years, depending on how often they ping. So you place them in places where there can be a leak. So there's two ways that you can be wasting water, a number of ways. One of them is that there's an actual leak happening from a pipe, and then that water is going to eventually destroy a floor or a leak through in a multi-floor building. Is going to drop down. Another way is actually a running toilet, the average is about 20% from what I've read of toilets in the world are constantly running. So that's a tremendous amount of excess water that is completely being wasted. We've also seen people forgetting to close a faucet in condos or in buildings, and then that water will just continuously run until someone figures out that it stops. So what our system does in responding to all three of those is our leak sensors are placed in the location where a leak is most likely to happen: under the dishwasher, behind the washing machine, under the AC unit, under the boil, under the hot water.
And this is something, Seth, if you don't mind me saying, can be used in a household as well. It's used in a house.
100%.
Yeah.
Our company was actually started. We built it called Casa IQ. You could download the app and you could learn all about it. Casa IQ with a C was a residential smart water leak detection system and a smart home. From there, we built Arc IQ, which is more commercial based. So our customers are any place where there's running water. is a potential customer.
So Melvin, from the three, I'm going to go to Melvin for a second. For the three examples that Seth just gave, in terms of water leaks or water overage, what is being done in a building now when you don't have sensor systems? Because technology like this sounds new, Seth, and I'm just curious, like Melvin, what has been done and what's being done right now to monitor or correct issues with water, running water, leaky waters? I know that sensors have been put in many facilities I've seen, but what else?
So at least we aim to try to get once a year audit done on all the toilets in the building, because no matter if you have a sensor, if you don't have a sensor, like you said, there's a big percentage of toilets that are going to fail and constantly going to leak. So you just have maintenance set up a week. This is the week that we're going to try to go through the building. And then we work very closely with accounts payable, and they keep an eye for trends. If they notice that any of the utility bills are increasing or on a higher trend than historically, they will make us aware of it, and we'll have to look into it to see what we can find maybe the source of the issue.
It sounds like a perfect example of how technology is advancing us, because till now you're relying on people to look at the numbers and seeing if it changes. Here you put the sensor systems in place. But, I feel like the challenge, Seth, that people have is spending money to save money. That's a very, very difficult task in general, getting operators to understand that concept, especially when your staffing levels are so high and expensive, and there's a lot, your mortgage, your insurance, and it doesn't end. And, so, but it does sound like a great product and service that can help and use technology to eliminate what we like to call FTEs, which is a bigger savings when you consolidate staffing and put technology instead of that. Which brings me to, Dan, in terms of sure, Seth, go ahead.
I just want to respond to Melvin. So in the last week, something happened in our office, which we've been working on for a while with one of our manufacturers, and that we actually have in-house a smart toilet leak sensor. So instead of paying your maintenance staff to spend an entire week to go through every single toilet, we have a sensor. It's right over here. It connects to, I have it running in the toilet in my room here. It monitors the toilet flow, and if the toilet is running, within 30 seconds, you will get a notification of the exact toilet that is running. So you don't have to wait. If you catch it on 6 months or a year later, that water that you wasted will be more than this device will cost to install.
How do you respond to that, Melvin?
It's a very good idea. The question is, who is going to monitor and make sure that they're responding to it? I'll give you an example. The facility that I looked at, they have a log in their main utility room where they log daily the water consumption. So every morning they write down the meter number, whatever, let's say 15,000. The next day, 30,000. The next day, 45,000. Then I look at the log, and I see it jumped by extra 10,000 gallons a day. So I make them aware of it. Is anybody doing anything about it? No. Do you know what you're writing down over here? No, I was just told to write the numbers. They didn't even know that it's a water meter. They didn't even know that if anything is off, that they have to notify anyone. They were just told 25 years ago that you have to keep a log and write down a number. So, systems are as good as the staff is. So it's definitely worth it if someone is going to be on top of it and someone.
I hear that a lot, Melvin. I have to chime in here because I'm sitting in the seat of speaking to vendors and operators on a daily basis. The idea of hearing from both sides, from the vendors and the operators, the time spent in implementing something is something I hear a lot about. If there's a 5% savings in something and it takes me 20% more of an effort to make that change, I'm not sure I want to do that. And that's a lot of what I'm hearing. And on that note, implementing technology sometimes can be, time consuming, and you have to really figure out, do I want to do a clinical oversight because Department of Health is going to do a survey in a few weeks, or do I want to implement a water prevention system right now? So, and Melvin, I appreciate where you're coming from on that. And Seth, we'll go back to you in a minute. Herschel Friedman, thank you for joining us. Herschel is Director of Plant Management, oversees the facilities, and is Director of Operations for a group of skilled nursing facilities. Similar role to what Melvin is doing. And Herschel, we're talking here to 3 providers of services, one that works with leak detection in buildings, commercial buildings, residential buildings, talking about the power of water and how much it costs and how much the rising costs, and figuring out the problem as soon as it happens, as opposed to days later when you have to call a restoration company. And that's Seth, who's with us today. So, and then we have Dan, who's with us today, who's oversees a company that does maintenance software that has the oversight of the checks and balances. Like Melvin mentioned a minute ago, Herschel, how many things that annually have to be recertified? Can you guess that number, Herschel? Can we put you on the spot? From a fire safety perspective,
I would say over 100.
Good. So it's 60. So it's over 51. So that's close to 100.
I guess we're better.
So Melvin is and I were talking, and us were talking earlier about how many things have to be certified. So Dan represents a company called Maintenance Care. Having a software to help you manage all of your checks and balances is important. Melvin himself does his checks and balances through a worksheet, a live worksheet, which has been working for him for years. He didn't wait for a software to be developed. He developed his own process. And then we have Ken. Ken is with us from Fresh Scent. They make sure, like Melvin put it so eloquently, that the dessert is there. And once the facility is smelling good and it looks good, then it'll feel good by having an extra scent that makes the building feel like you're in a hotel type of setting. So Herschel, just why don't you just give us a quick introduction to you and your background, and then we'll get right back into it.
Good afternoon. I really apologize for being late. I've been working for this particular company, Medco, for 26 years. And I'm enjoying every second of it. And I don't look at it as a job. And most people in our company do not look at it as a job. We look at it as a lifestyle. Because we really look forward, and believe it or not, they're not going to hear any of this, so I can say whatever I want. We enjoy working with our residents, with our staff, and the challenges, of course. And most of our workers, a good number of them are working there 25 to 35 years.
That's a real testament to the
usually we lose workers due to retirement.
Wow. I was going to say that's a real testament to the amount of snacks and food that you have in your vending machine. Congratulations to whoever's stocking that machine up, because that's amazing. I mean, that means they're sticking around and they're not going anywhere. So that's
correct. And our prices are pretty good. The Cokes are $1.50. Some people
that keeps them there too, I'm sure. Yeah. Right. No, really, it's a tremendous value in general to hear about longevity. You know, when I talk to people who fly United, or they fly Delta, or they fly American, JetBlue, well, and they say to me all the time, I like knowing who's there. Sometimes I see the same people, and I like having my I like the comfort of knowing where I'm going, and knowing that there are employees that are appreciating what they're doing. But we all know that people who are in the care space, similar to teachers, we're not in it for the money. We're doing it because the originating why of why we went into this industry is because we care about people. And turning that into something where you can pass that along to employees, thereby making such an amazing impact on the industry. Congratulations to you and your team and your organization for doing that. One of the questions that we sent out to all of you, Herschel, that we ask is, what is your motto? What is the motto that your team lives by? We asked this to every one of you, and I hope to get the answer from all of you shortly. But Herschel, you're speaking about how you have employees that are over 20 years with you going into retirement. What is the actual motto?
My motto? Are you ready for this?
I'm ready for you.
You're going to be shocked.
Try me.
Not my job is my motto. What does that mean? I'll explain it to you. By the way, usually in most places, if someone says not my job, they're terminated, suspended, written up. Not my job basically saves our nursing home. Very often, I'll give you a CNA will ask a porter to help with something. And I've seen it. I've walked into rooms where the housekeeping porter is helping the CNA take a resident out of bed on the wire lift, right? In this kind of case, my staff knows to say, not my job. What I set up now is any staff member that asks my porter to help with something, I tell them, this is what they do. They give the CNA or the nurse a toilet brush and says, I will help you after you help me clean 15 toilets. Then I'll help. And I've had several cases in my years of experience, where an employee did something out of the goodness of their heart to help another staff, another department, and it led to IJ more than once.
Wow.
About the department help for IJ because a staff member helped somebody else.
Herschel, one of the things that we were talking about earlier is the amount of effort that goes into running a senior care building. We're talking about having specific rooms for garbage and having ventilator systems and filter systems for the air quality that has to be changed. And I love talking about this in general. Not my job is something that most people won't understand that concept, but in the senior care space and with the amount of clinical help that's needed and the amount of regulations and guidelines that you have to adhere to, it's important that we know that everyone is safe, and living in that motto is a very, very interesting, cool motto to hear. I am kind of shocked. I'm not off my chair, but I'm curious, Melvin, what's your thought on the other side in terms of, from your perspective, do you agree with that motto?
I guess from my side of things, I oversee life safety, preventive maintenance, and on the physical operations side. The matter that I tell the directors when I hire them to a facility, that you should look at your job and responsibility as being the chief engineer on a super yacht floating in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. So you can't miss a beat or you'll be in deep water. Everything has to be up to par and fully functional and reliable and dependable. And it might appear that the people on the upper decks, on the upper floors, are partying all day and having a good time while you're stuck in the basement or on the bottom of the boat. But that's your responsibility.
Wow. I like marrying those two mottos and anyone else that has good mottos to live by and incorporating that into running a successful operation. I believe in the idea that every operation that's running a successful operation lives by both those mottos. Otherwise, they're at very big risk of first of all, an employee not feeling good about themselves. Second of all, an employee not understanding that their actions lead to everything. And also knowing that know your lane and know your space from a legal and a safety standpoint. So thank you both for that perspective. We were talking earlier about the idea of having a software to manage the tasks that are through the building. Almost 100 tasks just for fire and safety alone, let alone all the other recertifications. Dan, from a software standpoint and managing all these different tasks, how many tasks do you see besides fire and safety? I would assume the number is over 100 that have to be recertified and checked on an annual basis.
Absolutely. I mean, there are daily things you do, there are weekly things you do. And so overall, we see an average when you include those life safety throughout, peppered throughout the year, you're looking at about 200 to 400 tasks a month is typically what a maintenance team would take care of in a typical facility. The future is in sensors. I mean, it definitely is. If you have a point where the technology can speak and do the work for a person instead of that person having to go on site to find it, that is definitely the center of where everything is going. But until that point, we still have to manage people. We have to manage their day to day, make sure they're educated as to where to go and what to do once they get there. And I think it's fantastic that you built your own software, Melvin, and kind of are able to keep that up because, being organized on that level is key. You're giving the information to your people to be able to know exactly what they're supposed to do. And that's the whole goal of the software as it stands right now. So,
Dan, I'm curious what you've seen in transitioning buildings. Have you ever lost a customer that said this is too complicated? Or have you ever had a customer that went through the frustrations of what Melvin was mentioning earlier, which is the training of the staff and the time to get them used to something new? So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we have a wide range. I mean, you see, we started 20 years ago. So you imagine there was no smartphones, it was pagers, and nobody in maintenance was using a computer back then. So you can imagine the barrier we had to cross. And then it became just a norm that, okay, you have to have a software. But the maintenance teams often, they're very good at their job, but they might not be computer savvy. So what you're having to do is at the base level, give them something very easy to do on a regular basis, 200 to 300, 400 tasks a month. They have to be able to get through that task list pretty fast, no matter what it is. But then you have other customers, obviously, that are asking for more and more because they're a little more early adopters on technology. They want integration, they want AI. So all of those things, you have to keep that balance where the front end is very easy, but on the back end, you're getting that information to the people that are making those decisions.
I like to call it PI. That's necessary more and more in our industry, and that's personal intelligence, simply because we are in the touch industry. It's, we're our touch points are very, very important. We need to be there physically in order to care for people more than ever. Of course, using technology, telemedicine, and other things, and which is amazing. Dan, what's your team motto?
Our team motto, well, we try to make working hard easier. So that's our goal. If you're working hard at something, how can we find a solution to make that a little simpler so that you can get more into your day? And that's our mission statement as our company, and that's what we try to give to our customers when they come to us.
Love that. Melvin, can you share with us for a moment, what do you do to incorporate best practice methods into your building for preventative maintenance? Just give us an insight of something that's happening. Like, one of the reasons why we picked this category is knowing that it's the season leading up to the summer. A lot of things are changing in a building, and a lot of things need to be paid attention to. And that's why we selected in our newsletter and in our podcast for this season to talk about building maintenance, security, safety, and so on. So what are your thoughts in terms of a tip, a trick, a preventative maintenance thing that you look out for that's so important?
What's not important. Every
that's a great answer. I'd like to ask it a little differently then. Give us something new that you've done that's preventative maintenance. That's something that you found out about recently that's, similar to what you were saying earlier about going on the roof to find out what the filtration system is like for your air quality. What I'm alluding to is something unique or different, not the same preventative measures that have been taken for 20 years, let's say.
So on a preventive maintenance stand, I guess we build our system as we learn. We learn every day. I've been doing this for more than 10 years, and I'm still learning. There's new experiences which keeps this job interesting. But we recently started doing annual seminars between all maintenance directors. Being a maintenance director, I would say in a healthcare facility, 30% of the job, at least, is documentation. I'm speaking to the reason of why you would need a program to manage all, life safety and TM schedules. It's 30% of the job, keeping organized, making sure that not only is the job done, but you have the documentation to back it up and to keep things in check.
It's amazing. I do find that a lot of nurses always talk, when I'm talking to nurses, they always talk about documentation. I find that it's important, to be honest with you, similar to what Herschel was saying earlier in terms of, his motto. Documentation is that kind of thing where people need to know that they're going to be held accountable for what they're doing. So I like that you're doing that new annual seminar, like your continuing education, which is nice. Herschel, your thoughts on preventative maintenance, new measures, new ideas, best practice?
Well, we're always, on the lookout for something new. We go online. Department of Health sends out memos. Our system has been working, for years. Something new that came up. I mean, every year something new comes up. Like one year it was Legionnaires, the cooling towers. So what did we do? We removed our cooling towers. We put in new air conditioning systems. Luckily, it's been pretty quiet, but as far as something new.
So you're saying every year things come out that's new and interesting to explore. And those are things that are.
But we look for, what's going on, the trends and so on and so forth. But
Can you tell me in terms of you mentioned the Department of Health a minute ago? I didn't know that they send out notices to facilities about new things. You're saying, is that something that they're doing for a while?
If there's issues, yeah, sure.
Oh, if there are
But they've
issues.
been doing it forever, yeah,
There are issues, right. You're saying, but that's reactive, not proactive.
correct. Well, before COVID hit the United States, the Department of Health was talking about what's going on overseas, and we, right away, they didn't tell us to start preparing for anything, but right away in our facilities, immediately we started buying PPE. And we
Smart.
thought we had enough. In one building, we had 300 gallons. We thought, okay, that's good. We got 300 gallons in storage.
Let me ask you a question, guys. Herschel and Melvin, this question is for both of you. What is the emergency supply like differently now than it was prior to COVID?
Do you want me to? Can I
Yeah.
answer?
Yeah.
All right.
Basically, okay, in regards to PPE,
Regards to anything. I'm talking about, I know that there's a 3-day emergency supply that's needed for food. Has that changed? What has changed as far as emergency supply, and what is an actual necessity in a building to have for emergency supply today in any category of
okay,
spend?
so basically when it comes to things like linen and diapers, we have to have a 96-hour supply. Water's 3 days. Food, I'm not really sure, it's 3 or 4 days. As far as PPE goes, it's on a different level. What the Department of Health was doing during COVID, the city, they were asking us every week, what do you need us to send you? And people were just putting out numbers out there, hoping to get as much as possible. What happened was, when it quieted down COVID, the Department of Health said, okay, so in the month of April, let's say it was the first week, but it was in April 2020, you needed us to send you 3,000 gallons, 800 face masks, goggles, so on and so forth. They said, whatever you took that week from us, times it by 60, and that's what you have to have in your supply now.
Wow.
So if I ask for 1,000 gallons, today I have to have 60,000 gallons always.
Till today?
Today. Well, they didn't change it. We keep it today because who knows what's coming next? Gloves. We have to have about 1 million pairs of gloves. We have
Melvin, what are you doing about emergency supply? I'd love to hear your take on it.
First of all, the requirement now is based on the infections rate of the facility, and they updated the requirement a few times. At the facility itself, you're only required to have 10 out of the 60-day supply, and the rest of it could be stored at any corporate storage facility. But PPE, the idea of PPE wasn't totally new to healthcare. We used it during.
Sure.
So there was training, but definitely not at the level and amount that we went through it before. But at this point, it's basically just maintaining that 60-day secured stock that you not even entitled to touch unless there's an emergency supply shortage declared nationally. So in addition to your 60-day PAR, which has to be secured untouchable stock, we're still, purchasing PPE as for normal operations on a regular basis. But,
I'm curious when it came to the after COVID era. Everyone is so busy doing so many things, and the requirements and the documentation, etc. Going into a different side of things, and Ken, we're going to jump right into your area of expertise with this one. I find in visiting facilities a lot that the elevator sometimes tend to smell not so good, and I'm not sure if. I've had this discussion in the past with people that say you're dressing it up by making it smell better, or you have to use a certain chemical to get something out of it. Herschel, what's your experience when it comes to elevator smells? And on that note, can the Department of Health give a facility a violation of any sort if the facility simply smells terribly?
Yes, and they'll investigate why it smells. So that they may find that a resident right outside the elevator in their bedroom, their diaper is soaking, and they'll monitor and see how long it takes for a nurse or CNA to come in and check on the resident. There's some residents with certain sicknesses, that it's going to cause the area, the hallway, to smell for a while after they're changed. But elevator is not a problem that we have. We do have problems, with certain residents.
Or what areas have you experienced in general when it comes to certain scents or smells, and what areas of the building, and how have you addressed those challenges?
We open windows, mop the floor with bleach, check on the linen, make sure the soiled linen is off the floor. But this idea of the scent, which we looked into, we were worried though that because it's going to smell so nice in the halls, we're not going to get that hint that there's a problem on the floor with a particular room or resident because it is dressed up.
Right. Good point. Ken, how do you respond to that?
So just to backtrack, I've gotten a lot of customers because of times where they get tagged from the state that they had an odor issue, and then they call me. In terms of elevators, there's also, I have a few customers that put them in elevators, but I would agree with Herschel. I've been in also hundreds of facilities, and I've never had really elevators that smell. In terms of rooms, of specific patient rooms, yes, I have customers who have my machines all over the units and lobbies, and they, in particular rooms where it really has a bad smell, they might put a small machine. Now, as we all know, the state doesn't allow us to mask odors. So we're not trying to mask the odor. We're trying to elevate it. It's aroma. We call it aromatherapy, but it does help not take away basically the odors, but enhances the smell. Whereas, there's some cases that that it's so bad that no matter what you put there, it's going, and it's the responsibility of the facility to get rid of that odor. And it's tough sometimes because there are some circumstances where you can do whatever you're supposed to do, and it just doesn't, it doesn't work. But again, I wouldn't say that our machines are covering everything up that you're not going to be able to smell it. But it definitely enhances and makes it smell better, and that's what we're looking to do, and that's what our customers are wanting to do.
Right. I think that Herschel, what you were saying was also, which is, of course, it's a good thing for it to smell good, but sometimes you don't want it to cover up an issue where the employees think that the issue has been taken care of. So I guess going back to what Melvin was saying earlier, that's where the training comes in, and that's where the documentation comes in as well. Ken, what's your motto?
Our motto, listen, as somebody who's a business owner who provides a service to customers, I tell my sales staff and all my employees that we value our customer experience. Our tagline is upgrading your environment, but our team motto is making sure all our customers are happy. We have a key turn service, at least in the tri-state area, within a 2-3 hour radius. We visit all our facilities. We service the machines themselves. So as Melvin was saying in the beginning of the podcast, I've seen turnover. We deal with maintenance directors on a daily basis, and there's a large turnover in many cases. And the new maintenance director has no idea what these machines are. If we didn't come in, introduce ourselves and do the work ourselves and left it for the maintenance directors, the machines would sit there empty with the oils. We replace the bottles. We have machines with batteries.
So good old school motto of simply caring. Got it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Dan, I know you had a hard stop at 3 and you stuck around a little bit. So Dan, I'll give you an opportunity to say goodbye or any questions you have for Melvin or Herschel.
Yeah, no, I appreciate being on here. And, I think ultimately the message is whatever method you're using, have information and provide information for your staff, and that's how things will get done, right? So you have a method of collecting that information, you have a method of of giving that information to your team. You have a large team, it's hard to do that. So if you get organized with a software like ours or any other software, I think that's the goal of that tool.
You know, it's almost like someone trying to file the taxes and not using QuickBooks or having an accountant. You have to have a system in place for all we're talking about hundreds of reminders on a monthly basis, like you mentioned, Dan, and like Melvin and Herschel were agreeing with you. So thanks for being on our show, Dan, and being part of the Expense Expert Roundtable. We look forward to seeing you soon.
I appreciate it.
Thanks. Herschel, I'm gonna go straight to you and Melvin now and ask you guys, what is the most recent emergency from a physical standpoint on a physical plant that you have had, Herschel?
The earthquake last month.
Let's talk about that. What happened?
Okay, there was an earthquake, New Jersey, New York. All the units felt the shaking,
Wow.
and right away we started getting on our phones the emergency alerts. See, the way it works is, what emergencies do we have to be prepared for? So basically, it's the history of the area you're in. What emergencies? There's a time where we didn't do in-services on training for active shooter, but then it started happening. In the schools, in the movie theaters, in the hospital near us. That became something new for us. So we've been doing that for the last 15 years. Earthquakes is not something that's common in the Bronx. We do have a policy on it, but we don't put major effort into the training in the past. But immediately that day, we reviewed the policy. We review the policy yearly, at least anyways. But we really put it to work, to really know what to do. And the staff wanted to know, what do we do for an earthquake? And we went forward with that.
That's amazing. Melvin, how did you guys respond to the earthquake?
We didn't really, we're not downstate, so didn't really have that much an effect. I think the facility that didn't feel it were like, shoot, we were not part of this.
Everybody wanted to feel a part of that earthquake. Yeah, I remember where I was standing. So Melvin, what was the last emergency you had to deal with?
Last emergency we had was a power outage. The generator failed. Generator actually snapped, and here we are, no power and no generator.
Oh my gosh.
What time of the day was this?
So we were lucky enough that it was 8:30 in the morning, 3 weeks ago. So it was not too cold, it was not too hot. But so the temperature was within the proper in a comfort zone. But at the same time, the administrator immediately started planning for possible evacuation if we don't get it up and running. And at the same time, I on my end started working on getting a portable generator up and an electrician to run the power to the portable generator. And it took us less than 2 hours.
Well, you had a backup generator, like a backup to the backup?
That we didn't have. I rented one.
Melvin, how did you get a company to come and do that? I mean, how quickly do you guys pay your bills? I mean, like, come on. I mean, that's very, very fast. Do you have a list of backups already ready to go?
Absolutely. So that's part of our emergency preparedness plan. On my end, that I already have accounts established with local rental companies, vendors, contractors, electricians, plumbers, all the vendors or supplies you would ever need in an emergency. We have an active account with either a credit card on file if it's a vendor that we don't use on a regular basis, or if it's a vendor that we use on a regular basis and we have a relationship and we don't even need that. In addition to that, I mean, I don't know if in the city that relevant, but I guess upstate it's easier. I have cell phone numbers, home numbers, from the different vendors and contractors that we deal with. And at this incident, I called up a couple of local rental companies. We had like three different companies that all had generators ready to go, but then it was a matter of transporting. So I called the one that's nearest to us and told me, yeah, they're going to try to look if they can get a truck to deliver it. I said, why do you have to bother? I'll come with my truck and pick it up.
Wow.
But they want to charge a delivery fee, or they may not be as comfortable allowing me to pull their generator. I wasn't even sure if I had a truck, but I just wanted to put it out there that, I'm ready to do this.
Give them that sense of urgency.
Yeah. So they called me back 60 minutes later. You know what? Don't bother. We'll deliver it to you. And while they were getting their act together, I already had an electrician on the way, and we got the cable set up, and we're already disconnecting the old one, putting in access to run the cables. We've had similar incident. Whatever thing like this happens, you got to be prepared. I've had a building that we lost the boiler in the middle of the night in the winter.
How do you respond to that?
I rented a boiler on a trailer.
You have all this prepared. That's just
Yep.
amazing. I love hearing this. This is something that everyone can learn from. And I know that everyone has to be prepared, and there's so many preparations and different moving parts. And, most people listening to this from the senior care space will be like, yes, we know this already. But, part of this is really for others to understand what it takes to run a senior care facility, and just from the building perspective. And it's just fascinating. Seth, if the earthquake would have exploded one of the pipes in a building using your sensor systems, I'm assuming they would have gotten an alert right away, right?
Yeah, so we actually one of our sensors has a vibration detection. So if it gets moved, you would actually get a notification. But if I move it, you can have it beep, or it'll be notified, hey, the sensor has moved. It's not an earthquake detection. I lived in San Francisco for 7 years. I wouldn't say that will work. But in terms of if the pipe bursts, our smart valve would send a notification to the property manager right away. And through our system, we have the ability to connect to local plumbers or water restoration companies to monitor also. So they will be calling the facility saying, hey, there's a leak happening through the smart valve on the 5th floor. Do you want us to come?
That's amazing. Seth, what's your motto?
So building a company from a startup, it's the opposite of Herschel's. Everything is everyone's job in a startup. From taking out the garbage to making sure that everything, it's very different. But really, we want to, our motto in Hebrew, it's Zenena, Zenena, Zenena. The way our system works is that installing our system, everyone benefits. The building benefits, the insurance companies benefit, we benefit, and it just saves a lot of headache. So we're not looking to take from someone else, but really everyone is gaining from our system. The people that really get hurt are the water restoration companies, and we were built from a water restoration company. They're tired of cleaning up the mess, but rather we want to prevent it.
I like that motto, and that's a good marketing, tip for your company. Preventative. Anyone who wants to, shoot out a question at one another, I want to give that opportunity right now before we go to our closing remarks in the next couple of minutes. So Herschel, do you have any questions for anyone?
Yeah, first, Seth, how many sensors do you have to put in a building?
So we've been focused mostly on where there is potentially a leak. So there's two ways you could detect the leak. You could detect it from water hitting a sensor, so under a sink, behind the dishwasher. If there's the leak happening, you'll get notification. So depending on how large the building is, that's how many sensors you'll need. We're working with one condo building. They want 20 sensors per condo. Another one wants 7. It all depends on the size. But then the smart valve, depending on how many main lines there are, that will detect an anomaly of the leaks.
Let me ask you, do you have a system where if a pipe bursts, that in the middle of the night, in the basement, nobody's in the basement, so
Yeah.
it could run all night, and it could be a big problem. Do you have a sensor that if there is such a major leak, you detect that it's a large leak, that it would automatically shut off the water valves?
100%. I could show you. Can I show him in 1 minute how it works?
You can absolutely show him, as long as you can talk it through as well, because most people are not watching this on video, but you can show the system as well. So I appreciate that. And by the way, I'm sorry, Seth, just real quick, the last 10 minutes of our segment is actually designed for Challenge the Vendor. It's meant for Herschel and for Melvin to talk to the vendor about their product or their service as a whole, not your company specifically, but why a facility or a building, specifically in the healthcare space, would need a water prevention monitoring system, and Ken, to you as well, which is challenge the vendor of why would I need it, and is it worth the time, money, and energy to implement such new systems? So go ahead, Seth, in response to
Yeah. So
Herschel.
if you see the blue right there,
Yes.
there's water flowing through our valve right now. So what I'll do is I'll just pour some water into this cup. I'm going to stick one of our sensors in. It's going to send a notification right now that there's a leak, and within 12 seconds, the water shut off. So you can have it programmed any way you want. So right now, the water is off. So you can have a program that if you detect water in the middle of the night in the basement, every sensor can be programmed for a different setting. Additionally, you'll get a notification, a text message, an email, no one responds, a phone call saying there's a major leak. So you can detect it from here, and once it's dry, it'll actually turn right back on. I didn't touch anything, I just dried it. The other way you can detect it is an anomaly of the flow. So if normally the water is flowing at, right now it's at 317, and the pressure is at 0, right? Because we just have the water running through. So the pressure sensors will also tell you, hey, there's something major going on. What do you want to do? And if it's middle of the night, you can say, let me shut it off right now, and then I'll send someone over.
Okay, that's fantastic. Melvin, can you challenge the vendor?
No, I believe in all of these systems as long as, like I mentioned before, as long as you have the staff that are going to respond to it and address these issues when they come up.
That's a good sign, Seth, that people are agreeing that it's a necessity. Ken, and the things that we've done to challenge you earlier, you've already addressed in terms of getting that scent there and complementing what's there and having that smell and making sure to challenge those violations, at least from the perspective of making sure that there's some sort of solution beginning in the building. So I appreciate that. Melvin, do you have any questions for anyone on the program?
No questions.
I have a question for Melvin. Melvin, if this would have happened on a Friday night, the power failure, who is responsible enough to make sure that generator got there and was hooked up to the building?
So I have regional directors that works under me.
So they would get the call on the weekend.
Correct.
What we did was, because of Sandy, our generator ran for 8 days straight. We bought another generator, a large generator, and it's outside in the back of the building. A backup to our backup.
So you could use that generator for another building as well if you need.
We could, because it's a trailer, and all we need is the electrician to come in and hook it up.
That's a pretty cool idea. If especially if these kind of things happen, and the expense of renting a generator, I'm assuming, was almost as much as buying one, or is it not that expensive?
It's not. We spent about $150,000 for the backup generator.
Have you ever had to use it?
So how many times would you need a generator to not work and not call in another company for it to be worth it? How many buildings would you need to own a backup generator?
It's a question.
No, I'm asking both of you. I mean, from a sake of spending money and saving money, which is part of the program of what we're trying to do, and figure out, managing expenses from the area of expertise of knowing, okay, when you have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 buildings, or that your generator goes down at least once a year, an average, it pays to own a separate generator. I'm curious on your thoughts, Herschel.
A generator that goes down once a year, you need a new generator or a new mechanic.
Right. Good point.
Right. But you know what? It's a peace of mind. And it wasn't about saving money, because if we lose our power, we don't have a backup generator and we have to start evacuating it. It doesn't become a money issue. It's a safety issue and a quality of life issue, and the embarrassment of it, because it becomes public. It's just a good peace of mind.
It's such a it's a great point you're bringing up, Herschel. I want to tell you that something that it's a battle that we have a lot of times in having our discussion with operators, spending money. Not just to save money, but spending money so your facility can get more reviews, spending money so that the resident council meeting notes is not longer than 2 pages because everyone's happy. So sometimes you got to spend money so your menu is better, so it tastes better, so that people are actually enjoying eating your lunch.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you a quick story about Happy. During a state survey one summer, a resident climbed over the patio fence, landed on his feet and broke his foot. And we're all outside surrounding the site with the state. And they're saying, well, it's not really your fault. You did everything you could. You have cameras, you have people, you have a tall fence. Then they went into his chart. And this resident was being discharged home the next day. And the state is saying, okay, what's going on here that this guy needed to get out now? What kind of
Good question. Good question.
Well, bottom line is this guy loved our nursing home so much, did not want to go back home. He made his friends. He loves the food, the entertainment, the staff, that he knew this is the only way he's going to stay. He's going to end up in the hospital.
Oh my God. That's a crazy story.
I was there. He was hoping to get injured, go out and come right back. And that's what happened.
I've literally heard this from people who run homeless shelters, that homeless people tend to get sick or hurt themselves because being in a hospital is just more relaxing than being on the street sometimes. And it's a tremendous compliment to you. I think you should use it as a TV ad where you have a resident jumping out of your building and saying, "I don't want to go home."
Oh, we have plenty actually made their life in the nursing home.
Wow, that's very heartwarming, and I appreciate that. Ken and Seth, any questions that you have for Herschel or Melvin? Ken?
I would just add on.
Why are you using me? No questions. Not really. Not questions.
Questions, thoughts, comments. It's okay. We're ending the program. Just your chance to.
I can give you my last minute pitch, or I feel like, would they agree? Because I have some, I've dealt with tons of different operators. I have some operators who want scent in every inch of every facility, and they spend average of $1,000 to $1,500 a month in scent. And then I have some operators, they don't want to spend a dime, which I understand. What I tell them is, and what I feel, and I'd like to know what they feel, is that at least, and this is a low price option. My machines are not expensive. I pride myself on being one of the lowest price leasing, from a lot of the other companies, my competition. But at least in the lobby, and this has been my pitch, it has worked, that at least you should have something in the lobby that when guests walk in, forget about you want the units, or you're covering up odors, or you want the staff to have better morale, or it's good for patients' memories and scents and all that stuff. When family members are shopping around and they go to a bunch of facilities, when they walk into the facility and it smells nice, I think it makes a big difference to those family people, anybody that walks in.
Ken, I like that question. And in our newest segment of Challenge the Operator, I'll let Herschel respond to that first.
Well, Ken, I really like that idea. And I'm going to give you an example of, you come into some nursing homes or even hotels, the lobby is gorgeous.
Right.
Then you get off the elevator on the second floor, you say, where's that lobby? Your idea with the nice smelling lobby, I like it. The problem is when you leave the lobby, I'd rather have that scent everywhere except the lobby. They come in, but then they come and says, gorgeous, smells great.
I love that answer. It's a good answer. And Melvin, your thoughts?
I actually wanted to answer on that question you had on the generator. If it's worth investing on a portable generator.
Please do. Let's go with that first. And thanks for being so patient, Melvin. Love it.
So, first of all, going back even further, you mentioned the word elevator, and you didn't even allow me to say anything. Like I didn't feel that it's fear that you even bring up the word elevator, and I didn't even get to comment.
What Melvin is referring to, I apologize, by the way. What Melvin is referring to is that for over a decade, if I have questions with specific areas of expertise that I need help in, I turn to people that are experts in certain arenas. There's no one in the world that understands elevators better than Melvin. So Melvin, I'm going to give you that plug for a second and let everyone know, if you have an issue with your elevator from a mechanic standpoint and you're relying on, I had to say it. So yeah, I apologize, Melvin, but you can answer the elevator, the generator, and you can finish off by responding to Ken in Challenge the Operator segment that we just launched.
No, I just wanted to comment first on the elevator. When you asked the question about the bad scent in the elevator, elevators are designed with an exhaust fan. So if someone has an issue with the odor in the elevator, they should first check if their exhaust fan works. And the exhaust fan on the elevator is similar to an exhaust fan in a residential bathroom. It's a small fan.
I don't know about you, but it doesn't work in my bathroom. I have to tell you.
Many, so you have to check it. I can come check it for you. But either way.
Sometimes it needs more than just the fan. It needs the scent, the fan, and everything else.
It could be a doctor.
Toilet sensor also.
Yeah, but many of them have a service key switch, and sometimes elevator technician may have turned it off while it was working above the car and they forgot to turn it back on. Or it's a simple, $80 fan that it's just have to change. But anyway, that was my take on the elevator. Getting back to the generator, since we have different size facilities, ranging from our facilities are only 40 beds, some facilities are 400 beds. The same way you would have generators in some facilities, the generators are 60, 80 kW, and then we have other buildings that are over 1,000 kW generators. So, in general, to invest in a generator, to own one that would be able to be your backup for any given facility, you would really have to get something either extremely large or it's not going to serve all buildings. That's one challenge. The other challenge is that what's the distance if you're a group, what's the distance between one facility and the other? If it's 5 hours away, now you can't be 5 hours without power. In addition to that, if you're transporting the generator, someone is either going to need a CDL and a special hazmat endorsement because the tank is probably full of gas. So you can't have anybody just transport that generator. And then you have your typical maintenance. You still have another generator that's going to have to be maintained. Who is going to run it weekly? Is it connected to the building? Is it connected to a transfer switch that it's automatically going to go on? Or are you relying on someone to turn it on every week? Is it connected to the building that you're putting load on it? Or you're just running the generator with no load? Then you're actually not exercising the generator. Chances are, after a year sitting there in storage, that it may fail when you need it. So gauging risk with investment, I didn't find that to be the way to go. Especially, like I said, this is not something that happens every year, and it shouldn't happen. If you're in an area where you don't have rental companies available that you would be able to get a generator immediately, then you may not have a choice and consider that option. So that's my take on the generator. But
yeah, I appreciate that. And, in understanding that you have to take all the variables into account in terms of delivery and certification, legalities, liabilities, and so on. It's something that you always have to take into account with everything being done. And I appreciate you bringing that as a response. What's your response to Ken, Melvin, in terms of a lobby smelling good, and just the lobby? So let's give him an opportunity to have the challenge the operator segment.
I believe it should be done. I think it's pleasant, it's welcoming, and not only the lobby. I think that the entire facility should smell fresh, or at least be neutral. I personally don't believe in even having any odor in the cleaning detergents either. You don't want that to be masking any smells. You want them to have neutral cleaners with no fragrance at all.
Interesting. I remember eating in a restaurant in Israel last year, and the server was cleaning the table and spraying a cleaner on the table, and it smelled like bubble gum. I actually thought that was pretty cool. I was like, oh, wow. But I do get your concept of saying it should be neutral, similar to why garbage bags need to be clear so you can see what's in them before throwing them out. So being neutral and cleaning gives the opportunity for you to smell if something's wrong or something's right. And I appreciate that. Ken, did you want to respond to that?
Yeah, so we just came out, with a fragrance, because we do have some customers that say, great, we have a lot of different types of scent, but they don't want any kind of scent. We just came out with a very, literally very low odor scent. So that would take care of the issue of an overpowering fragrance that a lot of people might not like, and also answer the question that Herschel brought up. Let's say it's too overpowering. So we just came out with a new fragrance that is very, very, very low odor scent that our customers are starting to
Got it.
use.
And Melvin, to that point that you mentioned a minute ago, I'm not sure if either I understood it properly or maybe I just simply don't agree. I actually like walking into a building and smelling that orange, clean smell. It's sort of like, I'm that guy that likes the smell of gasoline, so I'm very sensitive to smell, and some smells I like. I like knowing the building is clean by smelling not the bleach, not the Clorox, not the, the bad scent. What's your thoughts on that?
Oh, definitely a pleasant environment, and it changes the mood, and it's a nice thing to have.
Okay, great. So you're saying from a functional standpoint and understanding how the building is doing, neutral is a good idea. But adding to that is, like you said earlier, and we're going to end with this, is the dessert. And the dessert for all this in this conversation is the fact that I had you all for an hour and a half. And I appreciate that. This is our second episode of the None of Your Business podcast, where we're talking about managing expenses, utilizing best practice, and getting into the business of running senior care facilities and understanding the sensitivity that goes into caring for the residents, and understanding it's not only about the money, it's about the care. Herschel, any parting words?
I agree with you regarding the not having any scent in the cleaning. But one thing I do realize, when the staff is mopping with bleach and water, we get a lot of comments. Oh, the guys are really working. When there's no scent in the mop water, people are just
Interesting.
We get a lot of compliments when they have that little bleach smell in there. Just
Right.
a comment.
Any other parting words, Herschel?
I love you.
I appreciate it. Melvin, any final thoughts?
I think that all of those three vendors that you had on definitely have a lot of good things to contribute to the overall operation of the facility, and it's definitely a great service for enhancing operations.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Ken, any final thoughts?
Thank you for having me. I feel honored, and I look forward to hearing more of your podcast in the future.
Us too. Thank you. Seth?
I just want to thank you, and also I'm really impressed with everyone and the care and concern that you have for each of your facilities. It's really admirable to see and to hear, and we'd love to get involved with each one of you in any way that we can to help.
Fantastic. Stay tuned as we bring you more episode of None of Your Business podcast. And we appreciate everybody's time today. Thank you very, very much. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. And I just need to mention, I'm wearing this kippah today with the Star of David so that we can invite the conversation and talk about the fact that our prayers and our hearts are with the soldiers that are fighting on our behalf right now, as well as with all the families of the hostages and anyone else that has lost anyone throughout this battle. And stay safe, everybody. Keep praying, keep learning, keep doing your part. Speak up, stand up, and together we will be rejoicing in the coming of Mashiach in Yerushalayim. Amen.